This is the C Word Podcast. Everything talked about in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and is not financial advice. You should always seek professional financial advice. Now, onto the podcast.
You touched on machine learning there, and
segue.
Segue. Excellent segue.
See what you did there.
I did it on purpose.
This is why you're here.
Wow.
So, machine learning underpinning AI, wild scenes at this moment in time.
A lot of people don't understand the difference because there isn't much of a difference.
It's just a marketing terminology, I think. Terminology for something that is machine learning, basically.
Yeah.
I've been vibe coding.
Can you
I don't even know what that is.
vibe coding is?
I can, yeah. I explained it to Keo before I started using it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't mind. Do you want to?
Vibe coding is where you get an LLM like ChatGPT or Claude to write code for you. So you ask it for something and it can write it.
Nice.
So one of the
do you literally just please write this code?
Yeah. Cool. Or you can discuss what you're going to do. So one of the first things I'd done or seen happening was little games and stuff. So someone that I work with had made this game on Claude and they were like, I want to make a game and I want the way that you move around to be totally different to any other game. And then with Claude, I had a couple more steps in the prompt to that, but basically made a game where you'd use 4 buttons and instead of the person moving, it changes the direction of gravity and they would fall around a map. And that game was made and you could just play it and it was makes web apps really quickly.
Yeah.
In a matter of months, that went from stupid to really easily being able to write whole systems.
Yeah.
And now there's apps for vibe coding that you can use.
Yeah. So,
and you can build apps in seconds. And the weird thing was, you have hallucinations with AI, which is where it puts stuff in that's just if you ask that one where you were ask Google how many rocks you should eat in a day, and it was 3 rocks. And it was because somewhere on Reddit someone had made a joke and it didn't understand it was a joke and it took it as information from the internet and started saying it.
Yeah.
That's a misquote, but hallucination is where it just says something totally out of pocket, where it's just it's completely untrue.
Exactly, the decision tree went down a wrong path.
Yeah.
It gave you just a mad answer.
Yeah.
Because it thought that was right.
Because the thing with LLMs is it's not intelligence. What it does is it works out what you want to hear and it tells it back to you. So that's why, if you're polite to an AI, then it'll speak back to you in a conversational tone. Whereas if you ask it a question you're searching in Google, it'll give you a response that's just factual. So the way you speak to it is the way it speaks back.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to understand it is when if you use the middle of your keyboard and you have predictive text, what's the next word going to be in this sentence, it does that just on a massive scale.
Okay.
In the way that it speaks to you. So then going into this level where they can sort of reference code and write code, it would often get it quite wrong in the first place. But the weird thing was, if you were I want you to code a web page that has all this stuff on it, and it would write the code and the code wouldn't work. But then if you put the code in and said, find what's wrong with this code and fix it, it would fix it. Yeah. And then people implemented those changes into LLMs where it would have basically a chain of thought where it would write the code and it would check the code and then it would spit out the correct code.
Yeah.
More first time.
I have known about models writing code for a long time, but I did try it a long time ago and it was absolutely terrible.
It was so bad.
It was terrible.
The leap in the last 3 months has been insane.
It couldn't get anything right. Right. And I just thought, this is done. Cooked. Done. Yeah. So I just left it for months and months, even years. I was massive. That was me doing one from the models, right? And then I recently come back and I've tried Cursor. Cursor is one of the leading language models, coding models, I would say, for writing code. And do you know what? My trial is about to expire and I'm going to pay for it. It's about $19 a month, $18 a month. I'm just going to pay for it outright. It got so good, like Matt said, so good, so fast that my mind was blown. Now let me tell you about my situation.
Yeah, I was going to say it's important to understand that Keo's one of the best developers that you could meet.
Here's thank you.
Love how you said first.
Yeah, I know.
That was an acknowledgement as opposed to a reaction. Thanks, Gordon. Thank you. My GitHub is public. Check it out. So
it's fun if you can't code. Like my level of code is so basic.
Dude, I have no clue.
I really like vibe coding. It makes me feel like I know what I'm doing. So like trying to understand how Kyo uses it is.
So here's the thing. Here's my take on this. Right, Matt's point is totally valid, and it gives you superpowers where you would have to have learned a lot beforehand, which is fantastic. It's incredible altogether. But for someone like me, and here's the context with me, it's like, I've got 2 kids. I have to hold down family life as well as a job, but I've got tons of
podcast,
but I've got loads of products and services that I have to hold down, and as time, as the kids are getting older, if things are getting more and more difficult, and I have no time.
Yeah,
I've got no time.
I periodically get messages from Kyo being like, I've pulled the plug on things that we made like 5 years ago. Yeah, it's just been sitting there, and he's been updating the code, and it's like, yeah, that's dead now.
Yeah, it's just gone because I don't have the time. I can't maintain it.
It was pre or one of my kids.
Yeah.
And I kept the kids. Selfish.
Who do they think they are? Rocking up, monopolizing.
We had a good thing going.
But here's the thing. What used to happen is I used to try and carve out time to work on these projects, and I'd start at about 11 p.m. at night, and the next time I'd got to a checkpoint in my code where I'd built a small feature or edited some UI, it was now like 3 a.m. And then I'd look again, it was like 4 a.m. I'd have to go to bed, right? And then I'd wake up the next day absolutely knackered, and then I'd start the whole thing again. Really? And I'd be a zombie at the end of it. Now, when I tried vibe coding again, this time with Cursor, which uses Claude, I think, in the background, I was just blown away. I was smashing features out. And I do this thing where I keep looking at the time because I expect several hours to pass by.
Yeah.
Now, imagine how this is. I'm used to losing time and hours. I look at the clock in the corner. Hours have gone by. Looked again. Hours have gone by, and I've done very little, right, in the grand scheme of things. Also, I'm really tired. It's night time. Do you know what I mean? You're supposed to be sleeping, so my body's working at half capacity here. This time,
which is like regular capacity for normal people.
Yeah, I was looking at the time, and only minutes had passed.
Yeah.
Only minutes had passed. And I kept looking at the time and I was just like, 3 minutes had passed and I'd written a feature. AI had coded a feature.
Yeah.
And it had got everything else in there. It got error control, state management, all these little things that take up extra time or that you forget about.
Yeah.
So what might have taken me months took me minutes.
My team at work, they're just really good at coding. And they're really hot on AI. We're having a big chat about vibe coding and what it changes. Because obviously the first thing that people think is like, well, I spent ages learning to code. It's now pointless because anyone...
But it's not. And I'll tell you why after you finish that. I'll tell you why it's not.
But I was comparing it to like, if you're going to use vibe coding properly, it basically puts it in like your position as like, if you're a CTO, like a lead programmer somewhere, what you do is you tell a team of devs what you want to happen, and then they write all the code, and then you check all the code, and you change anything that's not right, and you implement it. So now, basically, vibe coding shifts anyone who could code up to that like lead developer role, and any sort of lead developer gets put to CTO. So it like bumps everyone up a level, and people that couldn't code, it sort of puts you in a way where you can write a load of code, but then you still have to ask it, being like, I don't know why this isn't working.
Yeah. So it's interesting about this. So let me tell you about what my experience with someone who doesn't know how to code, right, and using vibe coding to try and build a product versus someone like me who knows how to build everything end to end using vibe coding. Let's say you take the example of building a house. You're vibe coding a house, okay? Someone who doesn't know how to build a house would come along to the prompt and they were like, this is how they would build a house. Like, right, let's get the roof in first. Right? And then they'd be like, okay, put the driveway in next. Okay, do you know what? Let's put a chimney and let's put the top floor first. And then, and then let's build out the rest of the house. Oh, the foundation? Let's afterthought. Just shove that in. Oh, forgot about all the wiring and the plumbing. This house is right, as a product has been built by someone prompting who doesn't know how to build a house, it is and it is never going to work. However, if you know how to build a house, you will be an absolute expert at driving the AI to build the best product. You will know how to do it. You will know how to fix the problems. You'll be like, right, get the foundations in first. Do the wire, let's build a skeleton, of the house. Let's get the plumbing, the electrics in first. All the basic essential stuff, you will know how to build it. And that's where vibe coding absolutely excels. If you know how to build a product, you can instruct it to build it correctly one time. Because here's the thing. Every prompt is charged, right? It costs money. And there's quite a lot of horror stories online about people having like $500 bills and stuff like that because they were just trying to build a product. And the thing is when you make a mistake and you try to fix a mistake, every prompt you're doing to try and fix the mistake is being charged to you, right? So you're paying to fix your own mistakes. Whereas if you are a coder already, you would hardly make them mistakes in the first place. For example, driving a car, you might have the best car, but if you're a shit driver, you're going to crash that car. Or you're not going to use it to its full potential. And eventually, people will look at you and be like, you might have a great car, mate, but you're a driver. And the same thing applies to how people vibe code. If you're not a good driver, then you're not going to drive the product or build a very good product in the first place.
It's interesting as well, like what you're trying to build. So if you're building an app from scratch, you could vibe code that. But like one of the examples I had was I'd used an LLM to work out when was the best time for me to take my kit days at work while I'm on shared parental. Yeah. So it was like, I'm going to be away on these dates, and I want to go in like 2 days a month. This day is best. Find me all the dates that fit within that. Now I was finding it really hard to visualize it because it just put out a list. So I went on Claude and I was like, make this into a visible calendar layout as a standard thing. So I had like all the months, all the days were highlighted that I was going to take off, and then I adjusted it from there. Yeah. But when you're using Claude to make something like that, when it's thinking, it shows you it right in the code, and you can switch between the code it's written and the output. So I would look at the calendar and be like, no, that's not right, change this. Yeah. And you can see it rewriting the code. But if you know code, then you could just adapt the code yourself.
And this is the interesting thing. So like I've recently built an app in record time, right? And I purposely made it
casually.
I purposely made it simple. It's just a list app, right? It's just a list app. But it's an AI version of list up. So basically,
step one, make app.
So basically, you're entering your items for your list, but it's predicting your next lists. So even when you go to your new list and you want to create a new list, it will tell you, is this your list that you're probably looking for? And it takes into account your previous list and your location of where you are. So if you're near a shopping center, it will say like shopping. Yeah. You know what I mean? It will think it's a shopping list.
And put in the things that you always buy from the shop.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it's pre-listed all your shopping items that you might want next based on your previous shopping lists. And it also categorizes everything for you. So dairy is in one section. Do you know what I mean? So, but the thing
that's the worst bit about my shopping list.
Yeah, everything's not in a
You go in and you're on
the different aisles,
so
that's when it laid out from the door to the till.
So here's the thing, so I coded that whole thing end to end, including the back end services and all that. Again, remember, I know how to build this even if AI wasn't available, but I managed to do it in what would have been 8 hours, 9 hours. What would have taken me months.
Crazy.
I did it in about 8 or 9 hours. And that was just me prompting. And it's important to note as well that when it made mistakes, because I know how to code already, I was able to steer it back in the right direction, whereas someone else would have continued in the wrong direction and then had to battle to get it back into the correct direction. Yeah. So this is the pitfall of it. But if you know how to code already, you are only going to benefit from vibe coding.
So this is like the difference with there's like 0 shot prompting and 1 shot, multiple shots. So that works as if you do a 0 shot prompt, you don't really give any context. You would just say like, I want an app that does lists, and it would make it, and then you have to keep going and going. Whereas like you can give it more context where you're like, I want it to do apps, I want it to predict it, I want to use locations based on this, and you could list out all the things and it would have a better chance of doing what you want. Because I think one of the things a lot of people forget is it doesn't fill in the gaps like if you were speaking to a person might do. It just takes exactly what you've said and it does it. So it's like, I think which is really handy for autistic people because you've grown up your whole life being like given bad instructions and trying to work out what the mistakes are. So I find it quite easy to use because I speak to it how I'd want to be instructed.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And like, how has it helped you? Because I'm really fascinated about how AI will be able to help people in general, right? Not just from one side of the spectrum, but all spectrums.
Yeah,
you know?
So many of the early tools were like autism and ADHD stuff as well. So there's a list one where if you just put in what you want to do and it'll make you a list of all the things that you need to do to achieve that. So if you're like, I need to go out, then that just sounds like one thing, but it makes a list where it's like, okay, so you'll probably need to shower, you brush your teeth, you need to like get your bag, make sure you've got all the things that you need before you leave.
That's really cool.
And then you go through and you tick them off and it makes it seem more manageable and you can work through instead of feeling overwhelmed and just staying in the house.
Yeah. That's absolutely fascinating.
But yeah, I think in terms of using it, I've found it quite easy to the point where you're explaining it to people and they're like, oh, I never would have thought to have prompted something that way. And it's like, it's because you fill in all these gaps and you think that's just a normal way to think when it's not.
There's that whole thing around prompt engineering as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Knowing how to talk to large language models.
And it's just going to get easier because like natural language prompting now is becoming so easy because they're building it in. So it's like, you will get to a point where you could say, I need an app, and it would ask you the questions before it makes it.
Yeah. Well, should we give this a try? Should we give this a run?
Yeah, please.
I've got it fine.
I mean, I'm going to scoot over because I kind of want to see what's happening.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the screen recording so we can have a look. And I'll describe this as well. So screen recording, rocking and rolling. Okay, so... wow. Recording. So what are we building? We can ask it to write a token. We can ask it to build non-urgent transactions.
I think we should do delay or not.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so non-urgent transactions.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it like PC, like, do you know what I mean? Like for the whole family.
Yeah.
You know, the whole family's invited. I've got a blank project here, and it's, I'm just going to say this is using Cursor. So Cursor is like an editor that builds in all these large language models.
They're just like Terminal. Does it look like?
No, it's just like a code editor, but it's got a chat thing on the side, on the right-hand side, where you talk to it.
Like code editor with Clippy on the side.
Yeah, basically.
Looks like you're trying to build an app.
It's like Clippy, like Robocop Clippy. Okay, so let me see. We want to build an application and notice I'm going to be dropping in like the right tooling that it needs to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And that helps greatly in steering it in the right direction. So we want to build an application that is a web-free tool. This this should use React and MetaMask where possible.
Do you tell it what languages to use?
If you can, it will do it in the language that you want. But the fact that it's seeing React and Web3, it's going to default to JavaScript, right? So it already knows this.
How sensitive is it to language? Like the type of language that you're...
Do you mean like when you're talking to it?
Yeah.
It's pretty good at this day and age. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Can you give me an example of something that you might be wondering about?
No, nothing. I was just, when you were typing, you were thinking out loud.
Yeah.
And therefore I was thinking, if you said the wrong thing, would it assume what you were trying to say or just, trying to figure it out?
It will always do the thing that you were asking it to do, even if it was wrong. It will very rarely say, oh, like you're wrong. It will actually apologize and try to do the wrong thing. So you can steer it in the wrong direction.
Interesting.
So this should use React and MetaMask where possible. The main feature of this app is that you can specify a non-urgent transaction.
Should we have it where it sends at a certain gas price, or you just want it to be low?
We can do a certain gas price or just low.
I was saying that if you do like a low, medium, or high area, and we preset those gas prices.
Okay, keep that as a feature.
Yeah.
We'll just do low for now and see what it comes out with. Specify non-urgent whereby users choose a transaction that they want to make. So notice how I'm trying to be as descriptive as possible here, because if you miss out the details, it will fill it in for you, and sometimes it's not what you want. When the user chooses a transaction that they want to make, and the React app will monitor gas prices and wait for it to be low on Ethereum. So I'm specifying Ethereum here so it knows what blockchain to do. So otherwise it would have probably just pulled any old chain out. On Ethereum, when the time when the gas price is low, the transaction will be sent via MetaMask. And then what I will put in here as well is shall I leave it as that and see what it does? Yeah,
why not?
All right, here we go. So I'm just pressing enter, generating. It's going right now. It's building the project, all the libraries in place. So it's figured out all the libraries to use.
What does it look like? Does it look like the Matrix screen? You know when you see all the...
it does.
There's the random lines in there.
You can see all the code just being written right now on one side. So it's written the app. It's writing the style sheets.
To do it in the order you would do it?
Yes, generally, yeah. But that's because I know the right order. And
I'm more interested if it does it in the right order.
Yeah, it generally.
And how does it split back end and front end?
So this is just a front end app. So it's not done anything in the back end yet.
Oh, but when you were building the other one,
I had to.
Do you prompt them separately to build the two ends and put them together?
So basically, as part of the prompt, you can tell it what files you're dealing with. So when I was dealing with a back end app, I would say, right, we're dealing with the back end part, and I would include the files. But over time, it did know which was the front and back end without me having to tell it. So it would know what needed to be done. You had to give it a bit of time, but it remembered eventually.
Right.
So done.
Just wild what you can do now.
It's done.
That was like 7 minutes.
Do you know what I mean?
Since we started talking about.
Yeah.
So it does. I think it does give you a time how long it took. Okay, it didn't. But yeah, basically it wrote it. So this is what it says. This application will be available. Here's what the application does. User can connect their MetaMask wallet. They can specify a target gas price. So this is what it's done. It's not been automatic, but it's allowed you to specify it. It made that decision itself.
Yeah. Because on the gas price monitors, they have like fast, medium, and slow, don't they?
Yeah. They can configure the transaction details, the recipient value, gas limit, and data. When they click Start Monitoring, the app will check the current gas price every 30 seconds. When the gas price drops below the target, it will automatically send the transaction through MetaMask. Users will need to confirm in MetaMask. The application uses React for the UI, Ethers.js for Ethereum transactions, MetaMask, and TypeScript. Done.
And do you have to specify where... So it's just a web app currently?
Yeah.
You have to specify how it would work for being distributed to mobile apps? Like the App Store or the Google Store?
So you can ask it to package it for you.
Yeah.
As a web app, basically. And that when that happens, it becomes what's called a progressive web app. But here's the thing, the React application by default is already a progressive web app, so it's ready for app stores. It's already there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could launch that on Google now.
Yeah.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, there's a lot of other stuff you'd have to do before you get through the App Store.
Yeah.
But
just for their checks and stuff.
Yeah. But as a technical product,
that's insane.
It's ready. Done already. It's insane, isn't it? So this is what we're dealing with.
So basically, you've just said there's no reason why people should not be achieving their dreams because they should just stick it on AI.
Absolutely. You know, if you know how to drive AI, you will benefit the most from this, right? And I've always wondered if I can ask AI, like for example, Claude, build me a token that has built-in tokenomics to be able to make me X amount of money. And I'd love to see what it says.
I've still got 11 minutes.
I was just about to say, yeah, that's next time. I'll do it now, yeah.
Do you want to do it?
Well, I might type it in, see if it comes out.
So we just see what it says.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be a bit mad.
If it's a flop, we can cut it. It's fine.
Yeah. Doesn't need to go in. Call it, or should we call it?
Mr. X.
Mr. X.
It does scare me though, because like, even though how, like incredible this all is, it is very scary that, AI is going to overtake us all one day, right?
Well,
and we're going to feel so insignificant that, all of the university studies, all of the, building up a knowledge base with people or, your own self-research education, it's almost like, well, that's always going to be better.
No, but like the thing you need is like critical reasoning and understanding of being able to use it and seeing why it's wrong. Because it's not infallible. I think like there's a common quote at the minute where like AI is not going to replace people. People using AI are going to replace people not using AI.
Yeah.
It's the same as a tool, right? It's like there was a big scare when like combine harvesters came in and it was like, well, what about all the people that like dig fields? And then we developed other jobs, and in a more recent one, like when Adobe and stuff came in and people were like, what about draftsmen that draw everything on a massive piece of paper with pencils, and they make these designs, and then suddenly we had like CAD design programs that could do all that. And it was those same people just learned to use those programs. So now, like, we'll all use to learn AI. The weird thing is now it can code. Like, that was a big sort of... if it can code and it has access to itself. Because there's a thing about general intelligence versus... Like, because at the minute it's not real intelligence. It's just something that is made
learned
to
and it's
look intelligent. When really it isn't. Like I said, it knows how to impress you into thinking that it knows everything, but really it's just very quickly accessing databases and putting stuff together. Like creating new stuff is still building the non-urgent transaction app in minutes is fine, because it would have just taken someone 8 months, like you said previously. You still need the idea of a non-urgent transaction app. So
and this stuff always reminds me of when like calculators first bust onto the scene, and there were teachers that were marching. There's really old pictures of teachers marching with placards saying like "ban the calculator, ban the calculator." But as humans, we adapted, and I see this as another phase that we're going through. We had machines, we had calculators. Now we have artificial intelligence, and what I think this is going to happen is, as from a human perspective, we're making space for us to evolve onto the next thing of whatever we're going to make next. Right? We're clearing that capacity in our minds. We're offloading it, like we did with the calculator, like we did with machines. And
it democratizes it. So now it's not just like if you want, like say 10 years ago, like pre-crypto stuff, if you wanted to make an app, then you had to have money or friends with money to pay developers to build something, and then you would build it, and then you would release it, and then you would make more money because you had the money to pay developers to build the thing you wanted. Whereas now, you could be sitting in your room and be like, I've had an idea for a thing, and vibe code it, and it's finished, and you release it. It's more about like rewarding people for good ideas than rewarding people for having an alright idea and access to the people that can make it happen. Which I think is nice.
Right, I've gone basic. Let's just see what it says, okay? So I've got a prompt here that says, I want to make a crypto token, and I've done this in the way that someone else might just do it, who knows nothing about crypto. So I put, I want to make a crypto token that has built-in fee capturing mechanism to be able to make more money on the site.
This is not financial advice. This is every 13-year-old typing into their computer.
Right. Let's just see what it does. I don't know how this is going to go. Bombs away.
And it's like 13-year-olds typing now instead of just being like boobs.
So it's going. It's done it.
How does the token work?
Let me just see. It will summarize it, but it's written the code for Mr. X token. And I'm looking at you, Mr. X.
I'm ready to launch. Send it to the moon.
I can't wait.
I know a couple 13-year-olds that will sell this online.
So it's done it. That was it. It's done.
Correct.
Right. So it just said, I'm going to create a new Solidity smart contract for your token. And this is what it said. I'll help you create a crypto token with a built-in fee mechanism. This is a common pattern with DeFi tokens, with a percentage of each transaction captured as a fee. So it's written it.
Which blockchain is it on?
I guess we could deploy it on any blockchain that supports smart contracts. So it could be Base, it could be whatever, So let me explain the key features. Fee mechanism: the tokens automatically take a fee, 2% fee on every transaction. Security: it's got all the the things that are security in place. Open Zeppelin libraries, ownable. Only the owner can change and collect fees. It's done everything right. Transfer, set fee collector, get the collector, pause, unpause.
That's insane.
And it's just like deploy it, rock and roll. And it says, do you want anything more? At the end.
Cup of tea, please.
Cup of tea, yeah.
Is that just MRX?
MRX, yeah. So,
nice.
Yeah, let's follow the developments.
This is not financial advice.
On the podcast, because I guess we're going to continue this journey. Mr. X token.
How many Mr. X coins do you need to access the Kryptonite school videos?
And this is where it all comes together. But yeah, I think that's the end of the episode. We're done. We're done for another for another month. That's episode 4. We had Amber with us. And we had the whole gang. Hello.
Yeah.
We had the whole gang. It's been amazing. Just so glad that we had all of us here. And we're back at Pirate. We're back at Pirate, but we're going to be somewhere else, hopefully, next week. And it's going to be, hopefully, a brewery or somewhere fun. We're trying to take the studio mobile. So, got any questions? Whack it in the comments.
I feel like I would be a lot more interesting over a beer, but you know.
Me too. I think like and subscribe for more. There's always going to be more. There's always more crypto where that came from.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. So, all right. Thanks a lot.